Hello and welcome to another AutoCAD tutorial session. In this session we are going to see how we could create a title block. And the idea of the title block is every time you create a drawing, say let's say for example we go to model space, we create let's say a rectangle with a random size. And if I want to print this rectangle, I go to layout, and in the layout you will see that it got certain information that I need to put, in this case the name, title, DWG, maybe signature later on, or I could do electronic signature, a scale, and so on. And so this is already been prepared, and so all we have to do is draw something and then go in print. And if I say preview, there you go. So it will print with this title block. So that's the idea of the lesson, how we could create a title block. Once we create this title block, we save it into AutoCAD template file. And we could open any drawing and then we could import this layout anytime we want to. So that's the idea of this lesson. So what I've done is, first of all, I've created some dim dimensions so that you could see the size of this dimension that we are going to create. So before we start, I want to explain what is the difference between model space and layout space. In this case, this layout is called A4 landscape. Really, the difference is very simple. Anything that you draw on the model space will appear on the paper space. So this is model and this is paper. So the paper space will show anything that's on the model space. However, if you draw anything on the paper space, it won't show in the model space. So we have a rectangle that I've drawn on the paper space, and it will never show in the model space because this is the paper. So it's like having a letterhead paper. So the letterhead will contain all the information of the company. And all you have to worry is in, let's say, for example, in Microsoft Word, we write the letter. When you print, the printer will print the paper using, well, if you got letterhead, you'll print on the letterhead paper. So you get the idea. So the letterhead is already pre-prepared. In this case, this is a digital letterhead, but we call it title block. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this, how I could create this in model space and transfer this into paper space using something called change space. Autodesk introduced this tool a few years ago, a brilliant tool. Okay, so I'm going to delete this and I'm going to delete this and I'm going to start new drawing. So I'm going to go to new, and I'll start my new template or this new title block that I'm going to create using AutoCAD ISO templates. And the reason I've chosen that is because this is a matrix. I'll explain that in the previous lesson. So it opens up a new page, and this is called drawing 1, so it's not been saved yet. So I don't like to see grids, so I'll turn off the grids, and when I go to layout, it shows me the paper. And then there's another layout, more or less it's a copy of this. They are saying AutoCAD will always open with one model space and most of the time two layouts, but we need at least one layout. Okay, so the first thing what I'm going to do is before I create my title block using, if you look at this, I'm going to use this sizes. I'm going to go and create some layers. So I go to layer property, new layers, and a few of them I need view. And later on maybe we could see how we could use this filter. So the first one I'm going to call this border. The next one maybe text. Maybe this one we could call this viewport. Maybe this one we could call paper and all. And for the paper, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the color is maybe red. And instead of having a continuous line, I'm going to click on to where it says continuous load, maybe dash dash dash, and you will see that in a minute. So I'm going to say the paper will have dash 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 and the color is red, and so I say okay, that's good. So right now 0 is ticked. It means that's the viewport we are using. Sorry, that's the layer. So I double click on it, and so I activate the paper. So here it says paper. So first I want to draw the paper size. This is just to show you. So I'm going to start my rectangle. So go to rectangle 0, 0. So that's where I want to start my rectangle. The other point of the rectangle is 297, by 210. So this is A4 size paper. So I just want to show you the paper size, that's all. Then I'll go to border layer because I want to draw everything on the border. So what I wanted to do is I want to draw my border inside this A4 size paper. So I could use tools such as offset. So I'll say offset. I want to offset by 8. So I'm going to offset this 8. And of course it copies that layer. So I say, well, I don't want this to be on paper layer, but border. Okay. If you look at this, the border is actually blue. So maybe what I could do is I could go and say the color should be something like blue. Okay. So then I'm going to offset again, this time by 5. So you see, now when I offset, I'm offsetting the whole rectangle. For the next drawing, I don't want to offset the whole rectangle, but I want to offset only the single lines. So what I could do is I would go to offset. Sorry, before offsetting, I'm going to explode these drawings so that they are no longer rectangle, but they become individual lines. Can you see them? Good. So offset this by 12. So I'm offsetting this by 12. Then I'm going to say offset this by 24. Then I'm going to offset this by 12. Yeah, because I remember the numbers. You could see, 24 is from here, so not from here, so we could change those things. In fact, what would be a good idea is for me to print this and then preview. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So, sorry, I said exit. So, okay. And then I don't have to go back again and again. So we need to delete this, 12 is good. So 24, this line, and then offset, sorry, I don't have to go back here. So offset 12, this. All right, let me see, let me collect. Okay. So, excuse me. I've done 12 and then I've done this 24. The next one is 78. So I'm going to put 80 and 60 and 50 and that's it. So I'm going to say offset. First one is 80 from here. The next one is 60 and the next one is 50 and that's it. That's very good. Okay, so then I'm going to go to trim. Press enter and I'm going to say I don't want all of this. In fact, I'm going to start with this. I don't want this. Then I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want any of this. Okay, I think I'm happy with those. This I cannot trim, so I have to delete. So I need to extend this out. So instead of using trim, I'll go to extend, press enter, extend that, extend that. Maybe extend this and trim this. I don't know, it's entirely up to you how you want to design this. Okay, so it looks like something like this. Very good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this into, I don't know. So first of all, I want to see the size. So I'm going to say the size of this is 281. So I need to divide this into maybe, I don't know, 5 sections. So I'll go and bring a calculator. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type 281 divide by 5. 56.2. So I'm going to say offset 56.2. 56.2. This, and then I'm going to type M for multiple. I can see multiple so that I don't have to do again. So there you go. So it does it. I've done this. Okay. So I could go to trim. And I'll say this is, well, what shall we do? Say this is the trimming line. Press enter, and the rest of the stuff will be trimmed. Yeah, so that's one way of trimming. So we could write some letters here. So I could go right from the middle there. So I'm drawing this line. This is a kind of like reference line for now. And I'm going to write a text. So there are two types of texts. We've seen this in the past. So first, before I use the text, I'm going to create a text style. And to create a text style, I go to where it says annotation. Click onto that icon for a text style. And I'm going to say new text style. So I would call this border maybe, because that's for the border. So the font is Arial. I'm not going to change the text height, and that's it really. So I'm happy with that. So we close. So I'm going to use both text styles. So for in this case, I'm going to use only the single text line. So I go to click single text line. And if you look at the current settings for the text, border is good. So that's the style we just used. Text height is 2.5. Maybe you could change that. Annotative, no. So the text is not going to be annotative or annotate. Justify is on the left. That's why I'm interested. Justification, I want this to be in the center. So I want the letter 1. So if I go back here, the letter 1, I want it to be right in the center. And to do this, what I'm going to do is, sorry, I need to go do this the same thing again. So single text, justification, and I'm going to select middle and come and select that center point. And what the center does is the text will be right in the center. 2.5, I'll change the text to 2, no rotation, so press enter, and I'll type 1. So what does this mean really? Let me just show you exactly the same thing but without middle justification. So I'm going to draw another line here for number 2. And if I say I want justification, by default is always left. And if I say, okay, that's the center. The height is 2, which is good. No rotation, 0. And if I type number 2, and can you see now, number 2 is not in the center of that line. It's actually above. So that's why I have to change the justification. So if I could do that again, actually, let me go back, Control Z. So in this case, single line text, justification. We know what the left does, so what we're looking for is middle. Center is not good actually, yeah, so the text will be centered, but it won't be in middle, so I want middle there. The height is 2, which is good, no rotation, number 2. So now we could go and delete these 2 lines, so we don't need them. Perfect. So for number 3, number 4, we don't have to go and draw a line. What we could do is we could use copy. Copy what? This text, number 2, press enter. From where? From here to that point, to that point, and to that point. And of course we got lots of 2's, so we say double click, change that to number 3, double click, change that number 4, double click, change that number to 5. Okay, so we've done that. Again, what I'm going to do is measure this. So from here to that point is 194. So if I bring my calculator again out, and 194 divided by maybe 5 times, so that will be 38.8. So I'm going to say offset 38.8. So that will give me 5 times, sorry, not 5, 8. That's here, oh sorry, and then choose multiple. Enter, oh sorry, one more time. And for trimming, what I said was, normally what I always do is trim, press enter, but this time I'm going to say, this is the cutting line, so I'm going to say that's the cutting line, then I'll say press enter and highlight this. And I'll do exactly the same thing, which is I'll draw a line from the center, from the midpoint to the intersect point, because I don't have the middle point, so intersect. And I'll go to single line text, choose mid here, the midpoint. The style is always good because middle is on, so I don't have to change nothing now. So the height is too good, no rotation. And here I'm going to type A. Delete that line. Copy this object from that point to that point. So I'm using this as a reference. So they're all in line. I'll change that to B, change that to C, change that to D, and change that to E maybe. Okay. So we want this to be on this side as well. And so what I could do is really copy this, including the lines. I could mirror it, but I'm not sure whether I don't have to have E. And this time I'm going to copy. If I copy it from here, then I'm going to find it slightly. Well, let's do it and I'll show you what we could do. So I'm going to say copy from that point to where? Can you see that? How would I find that? So I'll just highlight, just wait for AutoCAD to give me that tracking. There you go. If I zoom, you will be able to see more. So when I show AutoCAD, it will show me this small dot. Okay, in fact, I've used blue. So let me just do this again. Let me go and change this border color to something like this, slightly pinkish. And the reason is you will be able to see what AutoCAD does a little bit better. You will see what I'm talking about. So you say copy what? This object, that object. Can you see that AutoCAD is highlighted? So you'll be able to see this better. That's the idea why I've changed the color. So, and then I'm going to say copy this from that point. Now, if you see, I will show this point, and there's kind of like a small cross. Can you see? And that cross tells me the AutoCAD have identified that point. So just come highlight it. And when I start moving up, the cross gives me this line, dotted line. And that gives me the intersection point. So when I click, you will see it comes to that point. So I'm saying from that point, and I found that point. So AutoCAD shows me the tracking. Okay, so far so good. There's only a few things left, so I could actually delete this. We don't need them anymore. Coming back to this, so the next thing is doing the text. So straightforward, jump to this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, this time I'm not going to use a single line text, but I'm going to use a multi-line text. And what multi-line text does is instead of asking me where do you want to start, you will show me where do you want to create the box. Once I create this box, then what AutoCAD does is it gives me all the, I could do lots of modification using multi-line text, whereas in single line text, the modification I could do is very limited. So here I'm going to type name. Okay. Now the problem is, first of all, that name should be in a text layer, but now name is very close to this line. So here you could see the name is not close to that corner. And so what we could do is I could say move what? This, press enter. From where? Move this object from here somewhere. So in this case, we want to move x by 1.5, y by 1.5. So what I could do is I could say for the x value 1.5, then when I press comma, then AutoCAD will give me the y value. There you go. And then I would say minus 1.5. So y minus 1.5 because I'm going from that point going down. So when I press enter, that's good. So for the rest of them, all I have to do is copy this object, press enter from where? From that point to that point to that point to that point and so on. Yeah. Again, the next thing what we could do is double click and change. I think this is title. Can't remember. And the next one is material scale. Okay. For the material and scale, I used a line here. So first of all, I'm going to change this material. Yeah, material. And by the way, in AutoCAD, if you make a spelling mistake, let's say I do D, and when I do, it should correct me. There you go. When you double click on it, it will have a red line. And when you do right click, it gives you possible spellings or the correct one. Okay. Here is SHET. Sorry. Okay. Here we have, sorry, nothing. So I'm going to divide this. So I'm going to draw a line on the border. From here, going up by 6, you can see that instead of offsetting it, I'm going to draw a line. So from here, track 6. I'm trying to use lots of tools, and the idea so that you actually be familiar with these tools. I could have just offset this, but I don't want to. We copy this and this to that point, and what we are going to do is this is going to be the weight. Okay. This is going to be scale. Okay, anyway, you get the idea. You could put anything you like. So this, what we could do is we got name, title, block. Oh, actually, we made a small mistake. And the mistake is, which is good, in this case, I left this area for the logo, and I'm only using these two areas. So what we could do is simply, we could copy them. So we could say delete, 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 move this, 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 and this, and including this line. Now, the problem is the sizes are different. So how could we move them? And what I'm talking about is this is 50, that's 60. So what we could do is we could move this object by, let's try 60. So I'm just move all of these objects from here going this way by 60. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to say move these objects from here going this way by 60. Okay, that's better. So that's right. And of course we need to move this as well. So I'm going to say move this object from here by this way by 10. Okay, and I'm going to trim this because this is the area where we are going to put. Okay, so we go title, names, name again. This is going to be DWG. DWG. God, what's wrong with me? DWG number. Okay, the next one is we need to put a line, so I'm going to extend, right click this there, and here I'm going to put signature. Maybe in 8 hours. Okay, the URE. Okay, and what I put here is I put a sign saying this is A4. We could go for single line, select that, the height now, we could make that to be 4. And I'll type A4. Delete that, and this text should be in the text layer. Okay. So that's how you create your the title block. And now I could go back into this and change that to that. Okay. So now the next thing is how do we transfer this to the layout? So this is crucial part. And the way you do it is really the best way is for me is go and type layout wizard, and what you are doing is you are creating a new layout using the wizard command. So it starts by asking you what do you want to call this layout. Right now it says layout 3, so we could call this A4 landscape. Next, do we want to associate this layout to a specific printer? So that's the question. In this case, I could associate my layout to my printer, which is a Samsung. Or you could actually associate this to DWF6 ePlotter. So that's a virtual printer. I will put a lesson actually about how we could use this ePlotter on my next lesson. So I'm going to use my Samsung for now. Next, paper size A4 millimeter. That's good. Orientation is landscape. Title block. Now I'm going to say none for now, but in the next lesson I'm going to show you how you could actually import a title block into any layout. So that will be another lesson to watch out. Next, viewport. Do we need a viewport? Yes, it's going to come with a single viewport. Again, there's a lesson about the viewport I've put, so it's worth watching if you don't understand what's viewport. Pick location for this viewport, so we don't have to worry about it now. When we say next, finished. And what AutoCAD have done is created me a new layout called landscape, and there it is. So now all I have to do is just click onto where it says paper and change this to 1:1.